And we are live. Welcome to Office Hours with Arrow, a LinkedIn Live event hosted by Arrow leaders who care about what senior living looks like. I'm your host and producer, Rachel Sheehan, and today I have with me a lovely group of guests. I'm so excited. Ashley, Gregory, Elizabeth. I'm so excited. We're going to talk about memory care, creative expression, our art projects we're working on. Ash, tell us who you are, and then also I want to know, who is your favorite artist? Oh, and you have to show off the shirt you're wearing. It's just fabulous.
Hello, my name is Ashley Koenig. I am the memory care director here at Vitalia in North Olmsted in Ohio. I've been with the Arrow company for almost 6 years now. I love it here. I love their vision for memory care. My favorite artist has to be Salvador Dali. I love kind of just his creative mind. And when you're looking at his art, it's such a signature style. I really love his work. And for the shirt, last but not least, we have the neighborhood, which is what we call our neighborhoods or units here at the Arrow communities. This specifically is for ending Alzheimer's, and the money for this goes towards Alzheimer's. So yeah, we can get it every year if we want to. It's awesome. I love it.
I love that. And that goes back to a different topic we talked about with Gregory a couple weeks ago, is that we don't call them units, we call them neighborhoods to make it more dignified. And I just love that. So, all right, Gregory, returning guest, tell us who you are and your favorite artist.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. My name is Gregory Dearlum. I am Managing Director of Marketing. I'm coming up on 8 years with Arrow, so very proud of that. That will be happening very soon in October. And it's a really hard choice, of course, for artists and to choose our favorite. I think it was a little difficult for all of us, but I love the work of Henri Matisse. He was a fantastic and extremely well-known French artist who his work spanned many, many years and many, many styles. And he is definitely a man who embraced color and fun in his art. And he, even through his senior years, he continued to produce grand works of art, even from his bed. So his paper cuts really evolved during that period. So one of the things I just love about him is just the inspiration, and his body of work is amazing.
All right, last but not least, Elizabeth.
Hello, I am Elizabeth Thompson. I am the Senior Regional Director of Memory Care. My favorite artist is probably going to be Georges Seurat, French neo-impressionist who kind of started the whole idea of pointillism, which I like to call dots. His brushstrokes were very fine, almost like dots. And I love him. And I've been with the company almost 5 years.
Awesome. And I see we have a couple comments coming in from our viewers on their favorites. So if anybody else wants to drop a comment, we could look into that artist for an art project in the future. So please drop a comment of your favorite artist. But I wanted to start the conversation off with Elizabeth, kind of explain the benefits and a little bit of the dementia education side of things when it comes to art and creative expression with our memory care residents.
Sure. So, our friends living with dementia are on a journey, and it's a different journey than what we're on. But one thing I think that we miss is that everyone is an artist. And especially people living with dementia, they can be so creative, even more so than us that don't have dementia. There are many benefits to arts with dementia, and arts is not just, we're talking about painting and sculptures and things like that, but art can be music and drama and writing stories and dance. There's many different forms of art. I think where we get stuck is we have these preconceived notions or biases that people living with dementia can't do that. And so we really have to eliminate those biases, that judgment of what they can't do, and focus on what they can and open up those doors for creativity. And it may be that we're opening up a door that maybe they used to be an artist, maybe they used to be a sculptor or a painter, or even a dancer or a musician, and they've kind of stopped doing that. So maybe we're reintroducing that, or maybe we're opening a brand new door for someone. There's actually certain types of dementia that people are more creative than they were prior to the disease. Frontotemporal dementia is one of those. We see a lot of new skills and creativity come out of that type of dementia. As far as benefits, oh my gosh, the list is so long. Stress reducing. Art can be a bridge between us who don't have dementia and those who do have dementia, a way to communicate with them. They can express themselves, feel a sense of accomplishment, bring out their creativity side, brings comfort, so many different things. A reduce of medications also. So lots of benefits.
That's awesome. I know I'm not an artist, but I like to be crafty. I know there's a difference. We'll get to that. But it always makes me feel more calm, relaxed, productive. And so I'm sure it feels that way for them. So thank you for sharing that. Now, getting into a little bit about why we're talking about this now is because right now we are in the midst of our Art Month projects in our memory care neighborhoods. So Gregory, do you want to speak a little bit about that, the art piece of it, the real artists, what projects we're working on, everything?
Sure, absolutely. I would love to kind of bridge a little bit off of what Elizabeth was just talking about. I think art it's really about fun. It's about color. There's so many, there's the visual arts. Elizabeth, I love that you touched on so many different forms of the arts, but this month it's definitely about the visual arts, and it's definitely my passion and my background as well. But I think art, all forms of art, but especially visual art, I think it really inspires us. It's filled with a lot of stories. Artists tell their stories, and art bridges time, it bridges culture. And as we were talking about this kind of this topic, we're talking about our favorite artists, and one of the things that Rachel said was that she was inspired by her toddler's art. And it's just like art can be, it takes on so many different forms. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it, and how it is so adaptive. But it really inspires us, it inspires emotion, and it really inspires a response. So one of the important things, as Rachel, you also touched on craft, and there are so many craft forms of craft that definitely bridge into art. If we really kind of start our approach, and what our approach has been, this is our third year where we're really exploring this art focus in memory care. And we really ground each year, we come together and we talk about what's important. What do we want to learn? What art forms do we want to experiment with? And we really ground those in art history. And I think if we approach this from a point of learning and also from creativity, that we're already setting ourselves on a great path where we're exploring art through the visual exploration. We're also being very mindful of, are we creating, I'm going to say almost like art lessons or art projects, because there definitely is that learning component to the whole thing, in addition to the freedom of expression. But it's like, are we being mindful of this? Is this dignified? Is this an age appropriate topic or an age appropriate medium for us to be working in and also learning about? And there's definitely room for seasonal art, or they're also based in traditions as well, but we're just taking it up another notch by really just learning about different artists, different movements of art, and different mediums. So that's always been where we've started and come from that place. In the past, we've touched on macro photography, where our residents were taking tiny little detailed pictures of flowers and things that inspired them. We've learned about Pablo Picasso and his ceramic work and recreated those works. And then also one of Elizabeth's favorites, our Jackson Pollock. We brought families and residents together and we threw paint and just it was about movement and expression, and it was fantastic. So this is a few years in for sure, but this year we've continued to evolve. And as I talked through a couple of these, I know Rachel has some examples. We are in our third week of our monthly focus. And so in week 1, we were really inspired by old Hollywood and by famous photographers like Herb Ritts and George Harrell, and just their beautiful black and white photographs of celebrities and old Hollywood. And the photos we're just seeing a lot of the amazing work that our communities are creating and featuring our spectacular residents. So these photos are beautiful. Our communities never cease to amaze myself and everyone else, and just the beautiful work that they're coordinating with their residents and producing. So week 1, we always kick off with photography. It's just a great way to ease into the month. In our second week this year, we decided to change it up just a little bit and really focus on learning more about artists and doing more of that inspired by art. So the focus for week 2 really involved either watching YouTube videos or web videos of museum visits and virtual tours, or going outside the community and visiting local art museums and art centers in our neighborhoods. And then we used those visits to interpret different works of art in our own way. Again, it's inspired. It's not perfect. Like, art is not perfect. It is our interpretation of what we're seeing and getting our feelings down, in this instance on canvas with paint. Week 3 is a focus on glass. Unfortunately, we can't blow glass, but we were inspired by the work of Dale Chihuly. He's probably one of the most famous modern day glass artists in the world. And there's a wonderful way to recreate his works by using tissue paper and Mod Podge. So we have a beautiful example here that our residents have created, and then a really wonderful photo of a work in progress, which is really great. And then I think Ashley maybe has another example, or an actual in-person example to show where we're creating our artwork. And then week 4, we are inspired by really, I think, a medium that is kind of bridges into maybe craft, or which is quilts. And so week 4, we're taking a little different approach to quilting. We're still going to be able to sit around together, almost like a quilting circle, but we're changing it up a little bit, being creative. We're working with paper loops to create our quilting project, but again, really inspired by everyone coming together, creating a significant work in collaboration with each other, but using a very simple medium that we've all done of cutting paper strips and making loops. But they're going to be cool. It's going to make a very dramatic wall hanging when we're finished. So it's really, again, it's just, art is not perfect. We remember that. We have to remember that piece of it, but everyone can express themselves. And the goal is through support by our wonderful teams or accommodations or any assistance that we can offer, that all of our residents can participate and play an active creative role in all of our projects.
I think that's incredible. And clearly, I mean, I know you've poured your heart into these projects for 3 years. And so I just want to offer to anybody listening, if you want to start this in your memory care neighborhood, like, we have resources we can share. I just think it's incredible the work you've done, Gregory, to elevate and also the education behind it, because it's so easy to say, oh, we're just going to paint. We're going to do an event where we paint, but instead taking it like, we're going to actually take them to a museum or do a virtual museum tour and educate, then paint, you know. I think that's awesome. So just great job overall.
Thank you. It's a team. This is a great team right here. So it's definitely a team effort. So I appreciate everyone who makes this a big focus, because the results are wonderful. And I know residents are really enjoying just working through the process and getting their hands dirty and creating beautiful things.
Yeah, very cool. Now, Ash, I want to ask you, because you're in a community that is experiencing this right now. So tell us that real life perspective, you know, what impact have you seen on your residents, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, like he said, this is the third year of us getting to do it. So I've had 3 years now of getting to see the impact it has for our neighborhood. He talked about the Picasso inspired plates. I can very vividly remember staff being like, how are we going to make these plates? Because they sent us an actual block of clay. And, you know, just a couple moments later, there we are doing hand over hand methods, making these clay plates together. It was so cool seeing the residents get involved with it for those sensory reasons. The macro photography, having the residents find things that meant something to them. I think one of my residents had a little robo dog that she really loved. So that was her picture that she focused in on, was on the fur of the dog. It's just really seeing who the residents are. As Liz was talking about earlier, it's such a great way for expression for them, because that can be such a hard thing to do. So even our residents who are in later stages of living with this disease, they are able to still create. They're able to put some paint on their hand and maybe create, like, I don't know, I think we did flowers one time with our hands, and I remember my residents loving that, you know, just various things. And I think Gregory does put a lot of thought into this. It's not just like, oh, here's this amazing artist and I want to see these amazing works of art. Like, you very much understand that, you know, this art is going to be subjective and unique. And I always tell my residents, there is no wrong way to do art. Art is art. For example, as we were kind of talking about, this is kind of our Chihuly inspired glass bowl. We put a lot of love and effort into this, and it took many hands to help create it. It's a nice soft sculpture, and we're thinking about maybe trying to create some spirals and add to it. We'll see. Because that's what he's like so infamous for, right? I love talking about art as well in memory care, because it can get our residents to express themselves, not just like with like art itself, the physical aspect, but verbalize how they're feeling. When we went to the art museum, at one point, I have this German resident who he played the harmonica on Music Memories, but he started just singing in the museum. And I'm like, are you feeling inspired? And he's like, well, yeah. So he was starting to sing because he felt so inspired. And one time I was doing an art talk with my residents, and I was doing a slideshow of different paintings, and we were talking about how it made us feel. And we're looking at this painting by Salvador Dali. It has a big boat with butterflies. And everyone's saying like, oh, it makes me feel calm or this. And I get to one resident and he says, well, it makes me feel kind of sad. And I'm like, okay, well, why? Why does it make you feel sad? And he's like, well, all those people that were left behind. And you look to the very corner of the painting, and there are some people who are left behind on the shore. And I'm just like, the fact that that's what he looked at, that's what he saw, like, it's so fascinating. And I truly think that art is so amazing for our residents in memory care.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, you blew me away with those examples, because seriously, that's like why you do it, right? Because it is a lot of effort. Like I said, I mean, Gregory and Elizabeth planning these, and then all the work like you have to do to set up. I know when I used to do painting events, like a lot goes into it. So what advice would you have for someone who maybe isn't an artsy memory care director? Do you have any advice for them and how to approach an art project?
I definitely think my biggest thing of advice is just go for it. You know, don't have any expectations. Don't be worried of your maybe personal limitations. That's like the biggest thing that could ever hold us back, is just not trying, because they will surprise you. You will surprise yourself.
Yeah. And I love that. I think too, we wanted to talk a little bit about what do we do when this month's over? And I know some of our memory care directors do like an art show with the art, but also one thing we do at Arrow is we put these photographs in our holiday cheer calendar, which if you weren't around for that conversation, go look it up. But we do a whole crazy Christmas and Thanksgiving and everything wrapped into one calendar here, and we take these photos and use them. And so there's purpose in what we do. It's not just an art project that gets tossed. That bowl is something Ashley can use in her neighborhood. So are there other examples of things like that we have used going forward, or things you guys can think of to make this kind of a cost-effective thing as well?
I think there again, being this the third year that we've done this, I think this is actually our most inexpensive year that we've had. There's so many things that we already have, that aren't expensive that we can use to be creative, just like the Chihuly bowls and the glass work. It's tissue paper and glue. I mean, that's so inexpensive. I think you just have to kind of look outside the box, think outside the box, and get creative. And, we've even used leaves from outside, from the trees, and rocks to create things with. So just get creative. And Pinterest is always a great place to find good ideas. And then when you start looking at actual artists out there, going to a museum or even looking online, you can see things that you could create maybe a little bit differently. And, one thing Ashley had said was that some of her staff would be like, how are we going to do this? And I think that's where, as caregivers, our job is to not only go alongside people living with dementia and help them live well, but also preserve their dignity. But we have to kind of change the way we think to be able to make that connection with them. And one thing that isn't taken away until the very end of dementia is creativity and even muscle memory. And if you think about it, muscle memory to write, even if it doesn't make sense what we're writing, muscle memory to play the piano. I had a gentleman who was a trumpet player in the Army. And then he was in his late 80s, and I had somebody bring a trumpet in with an extra mouthpiece, and he played it like he did in the Army, and he just cried. And it's like, again, these preconceived notions of what they can't do, we got to stop. We got to stop, because they can do so much. Even towards the end, when they aren't even able to communicate anymore, art is a beautiful way for them to communicate.
That's awesome. I agree. I think that goes back to when Gregory was saying about the dignified and the age appropriate art. Like, that's how well thought out these things are. It's not a craft my 2-year-old would do. It's something we would want to do. So Gregory, did you want to say more?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so many artists are inspired by the art that 2-year-olds produce also, and always have been. So, I mean, Picasso and our plates is a great example. So there's always that childlike, there's that childlike nod that can be very fun and whimsical. But just to kind of build a little bit more on what everyone has said in the last few moments, it really is, I think, starting just from a purposeful point. It's coming from an art background or an art education background. I think it's a little easier to just think, what is the objective? Why are we doing this? And Ashley, I love that you said that just go for it. And it's clear over the past few years, it's our memory care directors and their staff and our residents, everyone has just gone for it, because the result of all of these projects has been, I think we've all just, our minds have been blown on some of the wonderful things that are coming from the communities and the experiences that our residents are having. But honestly, it's just kind of, I think it's also important what is inspiring to you what is inspiring to your residents is just a great starting point. And then just like start the process somewhere in learning, doing your research, um, grounding the process in, what are we learning, why are we learning it. And the biggest takeaway one of the things I can say from someone who's trying to support everyone in the community that's creating, it's like, practice, do a practice first, because you can practice. If there's any bumps along the way, you can work those out as you're practicing, or making an example. And then to have a finished example, or at least a portion of something that is ready to go, we all do better if we have an example or a template or a starting point. It doesn't matter what we're approaching. So to have something that it's visually stimulating, you're showing the finished result to your residents, and it's like, this is what we're creating today. It just sets the stage for a beautiful, it's a beautiful start. And everyone knows where we're headed. So yes, I love that you said Pinterest, because ideas galore, clearly on so many places online. And then from the material standpoint, one other quick thing I would just say about that, just for kind of like tips to roll this out, there's the simplest things like tissue paper and glue that we were talking about, placed over a balloon and allowed to dry. It's kind of those simple ingredients, like, those simple materials, where once we take those and then transform those, it's like the even better part of the challenge is like, you've taken something so modest and you've made it extraordinary just through the creativity and the efforts of your staff and residents. So I don't know, that's a big win. I think that's even better than buying the most expensive easel and the most expensive paint set. It's like, we're mixing two colors and creating this beautiful work. So start simple, just start simple with simple things and make the most of the pieces that you have.
I would like to just add that I've been in senior living a long time, working with dementia residents for a long time, and I hear all the time, my mom or my dad or my husband or my wife or my brother or my sister has never been into that and will not like it. I wish I had $1 for every time I heard that, because I would be going and buying me a brand new Mercedes. But that's not true. It's amazing what they like to do and how things change with the disease process. So again, don't put your person living in a box with dementia, because it's just amazing what things that they can create and what they can do.
That's incredible. Ash, any last thoughts from you?
I mean, Liz kind of took it right there with the family members who were like, well, my dad, my mom, they would never like paint, like, I don't know, don't even try. And then I send them a picture of their loved one painting. They're like, how did you do that? And it's like, they came up to me. Like, it's so fun getting to show them these different sides of their parents and finding new ways to connect with them, because they can connect with them and do these projects together. I have families who volunteer and they bring crafts in and they do it with our residents, and it's awesome to see.
I love it. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the projects from this week and next week. But for now, I think we did it. Next week, we are going to have a special guest host, Stephanie Harris herself, to talk about Executive Director Metrics Scorecards. So join us next week. But for now, thank you guys so much for being here with me. It was a lovely conversation. Bye.